Hello everyone, welcome you all to this new video. So previously in my four modules I had discussed all the important concepts related to the this subject, that is electronic principles and circuits. Uh, and I guess around 35 videos I've done which I've covered all the four modules. So I hope you have watched all of those videos, because only few hours are left for the exams for EPC, and one module is pending, so that I'm going to be covering now as quick as possible. Okay, so around 5 to 6 videos I would be covering in this module. Okay, I'll keep it as short as possible, and I'll try to cover it as quickly as possible for you guys to learn. Okay, yeah. So this is the syllabus which is provided by the VTU for this fifth module. It is again divided into two chapters. One is in the first part we are going to be discussing with the some important power amplifiers based on class operations and DC and AC load lines. Okay, so the power amplifiers, in that we need to be first knowing what do you mean by power amplifier, the terms which is involved in these power amplifier, along with that the load line analysis in the DC as well as AC part, then some of the class operations. In that we are having subclasses which is divided into class A, class B. In the class B only we are having the concept of class B push pull emitter follower amplifier, then class C. Okay. Additional to that, there is one more class that is not mentioned in this syllabus, that is class AP power amplifier. That is also very important, but since that's not mentioned in the syllabus, we won't be covering that. Okay, then in the second chapter we would be discussing with the concepts of thyristors. Okay, in that first thing you need to be discussing about four layer diode, then the silicon controlled rectifier, SCR phase control, bidirectional thyristors, and insulated gate bipolar junction transistor, that is IGBT. Okay, so these many things we are going to be covering in the concepts of thyristors. Okay, so yeah, let's get started now with the basic amplifier terms, that is with respect to power amplifier. Okay, amplifier terms, there are different ways to describe the amplifiers. For instance, we can describe them by their classes of operation. Okay, so the classes of operation means that each amplifier would be divided into different subclasses through which the oscillations or the waveforms which is getting obtained at each class would be having different sets of values of efficiencies at different instances of positive and negative half cycles at different phase. Okay, so that's why it is divided into classes of operation by their interstage coupling or by their frequency range. Okay, because for each class we are having each range of frequencies through which the all the amplifiers would be working. Okay, so that's why some separate classes of operations are defined, and that classes of operations are given as, first is called as a class A operation. Okay, what happens in this class A operation? You see here, class A operation of an amplifier means that the transistor operates in the active region at all times. Okay, at all times it would be always in the active region. This implies that the collector current flows for 360 degree of the AC cycle as shown in the below figure. Okay, this is the class A, where it flows for 360 degree of the AC cycle. Okay, so this is the complete AC signal here, and complete 360 degree waveforms is obtained. Okay, so starting from here it goes to positive cycle, then negative cycle of 180 degree. This is the complete 180 degree, and this is the next 180 degree of the negative cycle. Totally complete 360 degree cycle is obtained. With class A amplifier, the designer usually tries to locate the Q point where somewhere near the middle of the load line. Okay, this way the signal can swing over the maximum possible range without saturating or cutting off the transistor, which would distort the signal. Okay, so this is with respect to class A. Now class B operation is different. It means that the collector current flows for only half cycle. Okay, whereas for class A we would be seeing that the collector current flows for the one full cycle of 360 degree. Here it is only half of the cycle, that is half of 360 degree is 180 degree. Okay, as shown in this figure. You see here, this is a class B response plot with respect to collector current and time only for one cycle. That is, you see here, only for 180 degree. For the next negative cycle it's not operating. Okay, it is just constant. Okay, so that's why only for 180 degree or half cycle it is getting operated. So to have this kind of operation, a designer locates the Q point at the cutoff region, then only the positive half cycle of the AC base voltage can produce the negative current, or the collector current. Okay, this reduces the wasted heat and power transistors. So this is class B operation. Now definition of class C. Class C operation means that the collector current flows for less than 180 degree of the AC cycle as shown in the figure. Okay, so this is the plot which flows for less than 180 degree. Okay, so this is one complete cycle. Here you see the initially the signal starts will not be starting from 0 degree. After some interval of time, the signal would be getting operated, right? So that's why at this region it is less than 180 degree for each instance. So that's why it is called as class C operation. Okay. So within this class C operation, only part of the positive half cycle of AC base voltage produces a collector current. As a result, we get brief pulses of the collector current as shown in the figure. Okay, so these are the different pulses which we would be generating in the collector current. Okay, yeah. Now let us see with some of the types of coupling with respect to these power amplifiers. So the figure 12.2a shows the capacitive coupling. The coupling capacitor transmits the amplified AC voltage to the next stage. Okay, so this is the capacitive coupling here under types of coupling. So we are using one NPN transistor here, one collector resistance, and this is the capacitive coupling capacitor used to be followed in the next stage. Okay, so that's why this is called as capacitive coupling. Next, the figure 12.2b illustrates the transformer coupling. Here the AC voltage is coupled through a transformer to the next stage. Okay, so you see here in this again with respect to the NPN transistor, we are applying a transformer here, and to the this is the present state transformer. So in order to do the step down operation, we are going to be keeping one more shunt transformer, that is for the next stage. Okay, so this is called as transformer coupling. And one more kind of coupling is with respect to capacitive and transformer coupling. Both are the example for AC coupling, which blocks the DC voltage. Okay, now one more is direct coupling. Direct coupling is different. In this figure 12.2c, this is the direct coupling here. There is a direct connection between the collector of the first transistor and the base of the second transistor. Okay, so that's why since there is a direct connection here, this is the collector and the base connection here. We are using two transistors, and like this, the direct coupling is made. And with respect to that, resistors of collectors. Okay, for these two transistors, with respect to that, we are getting the uh, VCC voltage, and this kind of coupling is called as direct coupling. Okay, so these are the three basic couplings which you need to be knowing, because these coupling characteristics we are using in some of the amplifier circuits. Okay, one is the capacitive coupling, where the capacitor of the next stage is obtained here, and this is the inductor coupling or the transformer coupling, and this is the direct coupling. Okay, please note this down, this is very important. Now, range of frequencies. In the concept of range of frequency, another way to describe the amplifiers is by stating their frequency range. For example, an audio amplifier refers to an amplifier that operates in the range of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. This means that an audio amplifier would be of a set value, that is, with respect in between this 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz, the bandwidth would be obtained, right? So this is the fixed frequency range. So for that fixed frequency range, we are obtaining the amplifier characteristics and matching with respect to that range and getting the characteristic of an amplifier. Okay, so on the other hand, a radio frequency, that is RF amplifier, is one that amplifies above 20 kilohertz, which is usually much higher. So this is the fixed range. Now if it crosses the range, then it would be a part of the radio frequency amplifier, where it would be asking for more number of, or the accurate number of frequencies. Okay, yeah. Amplifiers are also classified as narrow band and wide band. A narrowband amplifier walks over a small frequency range, that is up to 450 to 460 kilohertz, and the wideband amplifier operates over a large frequency range, that is from 0 to 1 megahertz. Okay, so figure 12.3 A and B are the examples for tuned RF amplifiers. Okay, so this is with respect to capacitive coupling and transformer coupling, how the tuned radio frequency amplifiers are generated. Okay, with respect to input and next stage, you see here initially this is the VDP operation taking place. This is the capacitive coupling happening here, because you see here at the collector end we are doing one the shunt connection of capacitor and inductor. Okay, because this is responsible for RF amplifier at the collector side, and to the collector terminal the next stage coupling is done. Okay, coupling capacitor is obtained. Then here with respect to VCC, the two input resistors R1 and R2 are kept, and this is one more coupling capacitor for the input side. Okay, so this is the present state input and next state input. So this is the complete capacitive coupling for an RF amplifier. Now the transformer coupling, how it is done. So you see here, for a transformer coupling at the collector end, at the transformer side, in order for the step down operation, it is the transformer of the next stage is kept in shunt with the present state transformer, and the capacitor is in series with respect to the R1 and R2 inputs and the present state coupling. Okay, so this is with respect to transformer coupling. So this was all about range of frequencies and coupling. Now the signal levels. In the signal levels, we have already described the small signal operation in module 1, right? If you recall that, you could be knowing that small signal operation is, it would be either DC or AC. But in the first module, we had discussed with respect to DC operation, with respect to AC operation, how the small signal operation works. With respect to the IV characteristic plot we have described. Now this signal level is with respect to the peak to peak swing in the collector current. Okay, so this is the main thing through which the small signal operation or signal levels are obtained. So here the peak to peak swing in collector current is less than 10% of the quiescent collector current, which means that in a large signal operation, a peak to peak signal uses all or most of the load line. In the stereo system, a small signal for a radio tuner, tape player, or compact disc player is used as the input to the preamp. Okay, the preamp is an amplifier that produces a larger output. Okay, the signal is then used as the input to a power amplifier, which then produces the output power ranging for a few hundred milliwatts. Okay, so this is the output power generated through this preamplifier. Okay, that power is nearly around 100 milliwatts. Okay, so with respect to signal levels, small signal and large signal operations could be obtained for a coupling amplifiers. Okay, now load lines, there are basically two load lines. One is DC load line and AC load line, that we'll discuss now. First is the DC load line. In DC load line, the figure 12.4a, that is this figure of an VDB amplifier DC load line, is a voltage divider bias circuit, that is a VDB amplifier. One way to move the Q point is by varying the value of R2 that we have already discussed in module 1. That same thing is getting repeated again, where here the value of saturated IC collector current is VCC divided by RC plus RE. So for the very small values of R2, we need to be driving the transistor into cutoff region, and the voltage for that is given by VCE, that is cutoff region voltage VCE, that is collector to emitter voltage, is equal to the power supply given, that is VCC. Okay, and the figure 12.4b shows the DC load line with the Q point. So you see here, this is a VDB amplifier, and this is the DC load line with the Q point, which is obtained with respect to whatever we have discussed. Okay, IC versus VCE plot, and this is the IC where IC is equal to VCC divided by RC plus RE, and here VCE equal to VCC. Okay, if you join that in between, you would be getting the Q point. Okay, this is the DC load line obtained for this with respect to the VDB amplifier and the coupling parameters. Okay, so the next is the AC equivalent circuit, and this is the AC load line analysis. This is the thing which we had discussed in the first module with respect to the small signal operation. Okay, so that is repeated again for DC analysis. And with respect to AC analysis, the parameters again it remains the same for VDP amplifier. First is how to determine the ends of the AC load line, writing a collector voltage loop. Okay, that is equal to VCE plus ICRC is equal to 0. Or if you solve this equation, you would be getting IC is equal to minus VCE by RC. Okay, these are small letters because they are AC values, right? So that's why it is AC collector to emitter voltage and AC collector resistance. So with respect to this, the AC collector current can be given as IC is equal to change in the DC collector current, that is delta IC, that is IC minus ICQ. And the AC collector voltage is VCE, that is delta VCE, that is change in DC collector voltage, DC collector to emitter voltage, that is VCE minus VCEQ. Okay, so when substituting this in this equation, you would be getting the answer as IC is equal to ICQ plus VCEQ by RC minus VCE by RC. Okay, so like this, the complete load line analysis with respect to AC part could be done, and for the further simplification, this is the part. Okay, so this is not so required. So now let's discuss the examples with respect to problems of the VDB amplifier circuit. So this is that VDB amplifier circuit where they have given, uh, they have told us to find the values for ICQ, VCEQ, and RC. Okay, so the formulas are given here. They have listed the formulas here. ICQ is equal to IC minus IC, right? The AC emitter current minus the DC emitter current. Like that, you could be finding ICQ. then VCEQ and RC also could be found out. Okay, so this is the circuit given. They have used an NPN transistor here. R1, R2, R1 is equal to 490 ohms, R2 is 68 ohms, RC, that is the collector resistance, is 120 ohm, VCC is 30 volt, load resistance is 180 ohm, and the emitter resistance is 20 ohm. Okay, here first thing is find VB. VB is equal to VCC R2 divided by R1 plus R2. That you do it here, 68 into 30 divided by 490 plus 68. Okay, if you solve it, you would be getting 3.7 volt as VB. Then if you find VB, then you could be finding VE, that is VE is equal to VB minus VBE, that is initial value with respect to DC analysis, that is zero point 0.7 volt. So 3.7 minus zero point 0.7 is 3 volt. Then you could be finding IE. So that will be the same steps we follow for while we solve for VDB analysis. That only is done here. Okay, that is IE is equal to VE by RE. Okay, so VE is 3 volt, RE is, that is the emitter resistance, is 20 ohm. So you would be getting 150 milliamps. Okay, so after that you could be simply calculating the ICQ, because they have asked to calculate ICQ, right? So we know that ICQ is nearly equal to the value of IE only. Okay, so that's why we would be getting 150 milliamps. Now VCEQ is equal to VC minus VE. Okay, VC here it is 12 volt, VC it is 12 volt, VE we have calculated it as 3 volt. So VC minus VE, if you do it, you would be getting 9 volts. Okay, then after that RC, that is the AC collector resistance, that is the parallel branch resistance of RC and RL. Okay, if you do these two, you could be getting the amplified AC collector resistance. So if you do the parallel connection, you will be getting 72 ohms. Okay, so this is one example. Now this is for the same question. They had also told us to determine the AC load line saturation and cutoff points. Also find the maximum peak to peak output voltage. Okay, from the example, above example, the transistor's Q point is ICQ, that is 150 milliamps, and VCEQ is 9 volts. Okay, now to find the AC saturation and cutoff points, you need to be first determining the AC collector resistance RC. RC is equal to RC parallel to RL, that is 72 ohms, which is already found out. Now to find the AC load line and Q points, you need to be finding the AC collector current at the saturation region, and VCE, that is collector to emitter AC voltage in the cutoff region. Okay, that is given by this formula: ICQ plus VCEQ divided by RC. ICQ is 150 milliamps plus VCEQ is 9 volt divided by RC is 72 ohm. If you substitute, we would be getting 275 milliamps. Now AC collector to emitter voltage, that is equal to VCEQ plus ICEQ into RC. Okay, if you do that, you would be getting the answer as 9 volt plus 150 milliamps into 72 ohms, that is 19.8 volt. Okay, like this you could be finding the AC values for the AC load line part, and with respect to IC and VCE, you could be simply plotting the AC load line. Okay, so this problem, hope it is clear. An example which would be making you thorough about the complete analysis of AC and DC load line. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this video, guys. In this video, I had briefly started with the load line analysis with respect to the power amplifiers, and we have seen the different class amplifiers: class A, class B, and class C. So hope this is clear. Please watch this video till the end, guys, and don't skip any concepts. Okay.